everyone, welcome back to the channel, and today we're diving into a case that has shaken people across the country. A case filled with unanswered questions, painful silence, and a truth that remains buried by the very man who admitted to taking a woman's life. This is the 2024 update on the Ella Goodie case, a story that has haunted her family for years and continues to expose the deep cracks in the justice system when killers confess but refuse to reveal the one thing families desperately need: the location of their loved one. Ella Goodie's disappearance has lingered as one of those cases that feels impossible to let go of. Every year, new fragments of information surface, yet the center of the story remains a painful mystery. Ella was a mother, a daughter, a friend, and someone who didn't deserve to simply vanish without a trace. What makes her story especially chilling is that the man last seen with her eventually admitted to killing her, yet he refuses even today to tell anyone where her body is. Ella's last known day alive was filled with normal tasks and conversations, the kind of ordinary routine none of us imagine could lead to tragedy. She was a hardworking woman who often gave rides as a side job to support her family. When she agreed to drive a man named Brandon Francisco from Louisiana to Texas, she likely believed it would be just another trip, another day of earning a little extra to take care of her kids. She had done similar rides before. Nothing seemed unusual or dangerous, but that decision would become the last anyone heard from her. The timeline begins with Ella setting out on the road, her car packed with basic belongings, her music playing, and her phone active for the trip. She kept in touch with people throughout the drive, answering messages and calls as she normally would. But suddenly, completely out of nowhere, her communication stopped. Her phone went silent, and from that moment on, no one ever heard from her again. As hours turned into days, concern quickly turned into panic. Ella was not someone who disappeared without telling her family. She had responsibilities, people who depended on her, and children she deeply loved. When she didn't come home, everyone knew something was terribly wrong. The police got involved, and the search for Ella began. Early clues pointed toward the man she was driving, Brandon Francisco. Records showed that Ella picked him up as planned and that the two were last seen together. His name quickly moved from last person she was with to prime suspect. The investigation intensified. Not long after, Francisco was arrested on unrelated charges, which allowed police to question him about Ella's disappearance. Yet, even with mounting evidence, her whereabouts were nowhere to be found. That was until fragments of surveillance footage emerged showing Ella's vehicle at different locations that didn't match her original route. Her car was eventually recovered, but she was nowhere inside. This discovery left investigators frustrated but determined. Her family still believed she was alive somewhere, maybe hurt and waiting to be rescued. But as weeks passed and no physical evidence surfaced, hope began to fade. Silence replaced optimism, and fear settled in. Then came the chilling confession. After months of resisting questions, months of acting as though he knew nothing, Francisco finally admitted that Ella Goodie was dead and that he was responsible. But even with that confession, he refused to say where her body was. He offered no explanation, no location, no closure, and no humanity. He simply acknowledged the crime and withheld everything else. For her family, this was like being stabbed twice. First, learning she was gone. Second, learning that the one person who could end their suffering was choosing not to. It created a special kind of torment, knowing what happened, but never being allowed to bring her home. The 2024 updates in the case reveal the same heartbreaking reality. He still won't talk. Investigators continue pushing, hoping that pressure or conscience will eventually force him to reveal the truth. But even with court hearings, interrogations, and evidence piled against him, he refuses to share the one detail that matters most. His silence is a deliberate weapon, one he knows causes ongoing pain. Legal experts describe cases like this as some of the most emotionally devastating for families because closure is deliberately withheld. A confession without a body often leaves room for doubt, denial, and confusion. Families can't properly grieve or move forward because part of their loved one remains trapped in the unknown. And for Ella's family, that unknown has now stretched on for years. The community has rallied behind the Goodie family, holding vigils and sharing her story online to keep her name alive. Strangers, neighbors, and advocacy groups have shown support, ensuring that her disappearance doesn't fade into the background like so many other unsolved cases. They refuse to let Ella be forgotten, fighting to keep pressure on the system and on the man who still holds the answers. What makes this case even more disturbing is the psychological manipulation at play. By admitting to the killing but refusing to disclose the location of her body, Francisco maintains a level of control he should never have. He knows that the family is desperate, that investigators want to close the case, and that society expects justice. Yet he chooses to remain silent because that silence grants him attention and power. Criminologists often describe this behavior as a form of dominance. Some killers enjoy maintaining a final piece of the puzzle, refusing to give closure because it extends their relevance. Others hold back out of fear that revealing the body will strengthen the case against them or lead to additional charges. And some remain silent simply because they want to cause pain. In this case, analysts believe the motive behind his silence may be a combination of all these elements. Despite his refusal, law enforcement hasn't stopped searching. They've combed through wooded areas, drainage sites, and fields. They've followed tips, retraced routes, and used every tool available. But without cooperation from the person who knows the truth, the search becomes like looking for a shadow in the dark. As 2024 continues, the case remains open. Prosecutors push forward, determined to secure a conviction that reflects the gravity of what happened. Yet even a conviction won't fix the emotional hole left behind when a loved one's body is never found. The family needs the chance to bury Ella, to give her the respect she deserves, and to release the pain they've carried for so long. What keeps everyone fighting is Ella herself. People describe her as warm, funny, hardworking, and deeply devoted to her family. She didn't deserve what happened to her, and she especially didn't deserve to be kept from her loved ones even after death. The fight is not simply for justice, it's for dignity. This case highlights a larger issue across the country: killers who confess but withhold crucial information. Advocates argue that laws need to be strengthened so that refusing to disclose a body results in harsher sentencing. In some regions, legislation has already been proposed to make cooperation mandatory or to limit parole opportunities for offenders who obstruct justice in this way. Ella's story has become part of that conversation. Families pushing for change use her name as an example of why reforms are needed. They don't want any other family to suffer the endless agony of knowing the truth but never receiving closure. Her case has become a symbol of a broken system, one that needs urgent reform. The most heartbreaking part of this story is imagining Ella's final moments. A routine drive, a simple job to support her family, turned into something deadly because she trusted someone who didn't deserve that trust. She was trying to help someone reach another city, and instead she never returned home. The innocence of the situation makes the outcome even more painful for those who loved her. As new court dates approach, her family shows incredible strength despite the pain. They continue attending hearings, speaking publicly, and keeping pressure on the system. Their resilience shows how powerful love can be, even in the darkest times. They will not stop until Ella is brought home. Community members continue to share her story in hopes that someone, somewhere, might come forward with information. Over the years, missing persons cases have been solved because people finally broke their silence. Witnesses remembered details. Landscapers stumbled upon evidence. Construction crews uncovered remains. These possibilities keep hope alive. At the same time, investigators remain realistic. Without direct cooperation from Francisco, the search becomes mostly guesswork. They've explored many possible dumping sites based on cell tower pings, travel records, and geographical profiling, but the areas are vast and the timeline is fragmented. The most haunting part of the case is imagining the truth lying somewhere unknown, hidden in a place only he remembers. The idea that Ella could be so close yet so far is emotionally crushing. Her family's worst fear is that her remains might never be found, but they push forward anyway because giving up is not an option. To this day, Francisco continues speaking in circles. Sometimes he claims he doesn't remember what happened. Other times he avoids the question altogether. Occasionally he hints at knowing more than he says, but still refuses to provide details. This evasiveness is common among offenders who want to maintain control over the narrative. But what he cannot control is the community's determination to uncover the truth. People continue to watch the case closely. Each court development becomes a headline. Every new detail becomes a spark of hope. Through social media, advocacy groups, and local organizations, Ella's name remains alive. As we look deeper into the 2024 developments, one thing becomes clear. Time has not weakened the fight for justice. It has strengthened it. Each year that passes brings new voices demanding answers. Each update ignites more people to join the call for truth. And even though the man responsible continues to hide the final piece of the puzzle, he cannot silence the movement built around Ella's name. The most important message in this story is that Ella Goodie is not forgotten. Her disappearance sparked a fire that continues to burn, fueled by love, community, and the unshakable belief that truth must prevail. Whether her body is found tomorrow, next month, or years from now, her family will be waiting. They will be searching. They will be fighting. And so will everyone who hears her story. In the end, this case is not just about a crime. It's about a mother whose life was stolen. It's about children who lost the person they depended on most. It's about a community searching for answers. It's about a suspect who confessed yet chooses cruelty through silence. And it's about the power of persistence, the strength of family, and the belief that every missing person deserves to be found. Thank you for watching, and thank you for keeping Ella's story alive. Every share, every conversation, and every reminder helps push the truth closer to the surface. Justice may be slow, and answers may be hidden, but with continued pressure and unwavering determination, closure will eventually come. Until then, we keep searching, keep asking, and keep fighting for Ella Goodie.